Imagine waking up without an alarm. No phone buzzing on the nightstand. No traffic sounds filtering through the window. No schedule to
Look at all
check.
those
No
stars
emails waiting.
Wow, it's
No
so
meetings
There's
to
the Big
prepare for.
Dipper.
and the
Instead,
Milky
you
Way.
open your eyes to soft gray light filtering into a rock shelter. The air is cool and crisp, carrying the scent of wood smoke and earth. This is how humans woke up for hundreds of thousands of years. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Ezra
Just
Stone.
look at that view.
I'm
Never
68
gets
years
old.
old. I've spent
No, it
the
doesn't.
last 40
Glad we
years of my
stopped here.
life digging in the dirt, searching for answers to questions most people never think to ask. I'm an archaeologist. Or I was. Retired now. Professor Emeritus at the University of New Mexico. 40 years studying stone tools, ancient fires, the bones of people who died before history began. And here's what nobody tells you about retirement. You spend your whole life working toward it. The golden years, freedom, time to do whatever you want. Then you get there and you realize something terrifying. You have no idea what you want. My wife Helen died 5 years ago. Cancer, 63 years old. We had plans, travel, grandkids, garden, all those things you tell yourself you'll do when you have time. Then time runs out. Our daughter Iris lives in Denver, 42 years old, 2 kids of her own. Sam is 14, Ellie is 11. I should know more about them than their ages. I should know their favorite foods, their fears, their dreams. But I don't. When Helen died, I did what I've always done when things got hard. I worked 80, 90 hours a week. Research, writing, anything to avoid the silence of this house in Santa Fe. Anything to avoid thinking about the fact that I had spent 40 years studying how ancient people lived, and I had forgotten how to live myself. I haven't really talked to Iris in 4 months. Oh, we've texted, brief exchanges. How are you? Fine. You fine. The kind of conversation you have with strangers, not with the daughter you raised. So here I am, 68 years old, living alone in a 3-bedroom house that echoes, eating dinner in front of the television because sitting at the table reminds me of her empty chair. But 6 months ago, something changed. I started my final research project, not for publication, not for tenure or grants or academic reputation, simply for me. I wanted to know something simple. What did a normal day look like 40,000 years ago? Not the dramatic stuff, not the mammoth hunts or the saber-tooth encounters. An ordinary day. Wake up, eat, work, rest, sleep. How did our ancestors actually spend their time? And what I discovered changed everything. See, we have this image burned into our minds from countless movies and documentaries. Cavemen, brutish and hairy, constantly running from predators, spending every waking moment desperately searching for food, always on the edge of starvation. Life before civilization, we're told, was nasty, brutish, and short, a constant struggle for survival. No time for anything except work. But the archaeological evidence tells a radically different story. Early humans weren't merely surviving, they were living. And here's the part that's going to surprise you. They probably worked less than you do. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer societies, which offer our best window into prehistoric lifestyles, show that people typically spent only 4 to 6 hours a day on what we'd call subsistence activities. Finding food, hunting, gathering, preparing meals, maintaining tools and shelters. 4 to 6 hours. That's it. The rest of the time was leisure, socializing, playing, creating art, telling stories, being together. Your ancestor who lived 40,000 years ago probably had more free time in a week than most modern people get in a month. Think about that. You work 8 hours, 10 perhaps, 12 if you count the commute and the emails at night and the weekend work you bring home. Your ancestor worked 4. Who's really free? This isn't a philosophical question. This is science. And the answer to this question changed how I see my own life. Because at 68, after losing my wife, after my daughter and I became strangers, after all my knowledge and all my research and all my success, I felt lost, disconnected. We traded meaning for information, and we thought that was progress. So let me take you on a journey, not through space, but through time, back 40,000 years, to a single day in the life of a man I'm going to call Arun. He didn't call himself that, of course. We'll never know his real name, but I need something to call him, something that feels right. Arun means dawn in Sanskrit, and this story begins at dawn. He was 35 years old, a hunter and gatherer living in what we now call northern New Mexico. The landscape looked different then, cooler, wetter, vast grasslands where now there's desert. Arun lived with about 30 people, his extended family, his survival unit, his whole world. He had a wife, I'll call her Lyra after the constellation. 32 years old. An expert gatherer who knew the location and properties of more than 200 plant species. They had 3 children. Kai, 12 years old, learning to hunt and make tools. Mika, 9, already showing talent for art and music. And Nira, 5, the baby still sleeping, pressed against her mother's warmth. This was Aaron's family, his tribe, the people who defined his existence. And from the bones we found from the tools in the fire pits, and the remnants of meals from pollen trapped in ancient soil and microscopic wear patterns on teeth, we can reconstruct his day. Not perfectly, not completely, but accurately enough to learn something. So close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you're Aaron, 40,000 years ago, northern New Mexico, a rock shelter facing east protected from wind and rain. The sun hasn't risen yet, but the sky is beginning to lighten. That deep black of true night fading to charcoal, then to gray. You're warm, warmer than you have any right to be on a cold autumn morning, because you're not alone. You're lying on a bed of dried grasses and animal skins pressed close to other members of your band. Your wife Lyra on one side, little Nira curled against her mother's chest. Kai on your other side, almost as tall as you, now his breathing deep and even. Body heat is a resource too valuable to waste. The fire that burned bright last night has died down to embers. Someone will need to feed it soon. Someone always does. In a group this size, someone is always awake. Sleep in the Paleolithic wasn't like modern sleep. We have evidence both from studying modern hunter-gatherers and from sleep research that humans probably practice what scientists call biphasic sleep. You sleep for a few hours after dark, then wake for a period in the middle of the night. This wasn't insomnia. This was normal. During that wakeful period, people would talk quietly, tend the fire, check on children, make love, or simply lie there thinking whatever thoughts people think when the world is silent and dark. This meant that at any given moment during the night, someone was usually awake. Someone was listening for sounds that didn't belong. The footfall of a predator, the crack of a branch, the distant howl that meant danger. Safety wasn't something you could take for granted. It was something you maintained hour by hour through vigilance and cooperation. Right now, old Oren is awake, 62 years old, the oldest person in the group. He can't sleep the way he used to. His joints ache. His bladder wakes him. But this isn't a burden. It's a gift to the tribe. He's feeding the fire. You can hear the soft sounds of movement. See the sudden brightening as flames catch on new fuel. Fire management was one of the most important skills your people possessed. Let it die completely and you'd have to restart it. Either by carrying embers from another group's fire, possibly miles away, or by using friction methods that were exhausting and time-consuming. Better to keep it going. Better to make sure someone always took responsibility. The light grows, the fire crackles. Sparks rise and vanish into the darkness above, briefly imitating stars before going out. Somewhere nearby, you hear the low murmur of voices as others begin to stir. A baby cries briefly, then settles. Someone laughs quiet and warm. Outside, birds are calling to each other in the growing light. This is waking up in the Paleolithic. No sudden jarring into consciousness. No alarm ripping you from dreams. The slow communal transition from sleep to waking, guided by light in bodies, and the ancient rhythms that governed human life for hundreds of thousands of years. It's a pattern so fundamental that we still carry the biological echoes of it. That desire to hit snooze, to wake up slowly, to ease into the day rather than attacking it. That's not laziness. That's your Paleolithic brain remembering how mornings used to work. I know this because I tried it. Last week I woke up at 5 in the morning. Not because of an alarm. My body woke up naturally the way it does now that I'm old. And for the first time in 5 years, I didn't immediately reach for my phone. I sat there in the dark, breathing, listening to the house settle, the wind in the trees outside, the distant sound of a dog barking. And I cried, because I realized I had forgotten how to simply be. For 40 years, I studied how ancient people lived, but I never learned from them. I was always rushing, always checking, always thinking about the next thing, the next project, the next deadline. Even after retirement, even after Helen died, I couldn't stop. But Aaron, 40,000 years ago, knew something I had forgotten. Time isn't something to spend. It's something to live. So let's live this day with him, slowly, patiently, the way it actually happened. Aaron opens his eyes fully now. The sky visible through the shelter entrance is lighter, pink and gold touching the eastern horizon. He doesn't leap up. There's no rush. The entire concept of rushing, of hurrying, of being pressed for time, these are modern inventions. His day is governed by light, by hunger, by weather, by seasons. The sun is beginning to rise. There are hours before he needs to be doing anything in particular. Right now, the most important thing is transitioning from sleep to waking in a way that doesn't waste precious calories. So he stretches, slowly, methodically, working out the stiffness that comes from sleeping on the ground even with grasses and hides as cushioning. Beside him, Lyra stirs, opens her eyes, smiles at him small and private, a moment that belongs to them before the day claims their attention. Little Nira is still asleep, her face peaceful, one hand curled under her cheek. Kai is already awake, sitting up, staring at the entrance where light is growing stronger. Gray clouds in the west, Kai says quietly, his first words of the day. An observation, not a complaint. At 12, he's learning to read the sky the way his father does. Aaron nods. Rain, perhaps, but not today. Tomorrow, possibly. This morning assessment is crucial. Paleolithic humans were readers of signs in ways we can barely imagine. They could tell from the behavior of birds whether a predator was nearby. They could read weather patterns days in advance by watching clouds, feeling humidity, noticing how different plants responded to atmospheric changes. They could identify individual animals by their tracks and tell you how long ago they passed, whether they were healthy or injured, alone or part of a herd. All this information gets processed and importantly shared. As more people wake and gather around the growing fire, there's conversation. Quiet at first, then building as the group consciousness comes online. Elder Orin is still tending the flames. His hands are gnarled with age, but they move with the confidence of someone who has fed fires for 60 years. Shaman Vela, the oldest woman, sits near him. 58 years old, her eyes are sharp, missing nothing. Her eyes are sharp. She's examining herbs she gathered yesterday, checking them for mold, sorting them by use. Dreams are discussed. The Paleolithic mind probably didn't draw hard boundaries between dreaming and waking reality. A vivid dream might be interpreted as a message, a warning, a visit from ancestors. One of the younger hunters, a man in his late 20s named Torek, strong and eager to prove himself, describes his dream. He saw the antelope herd by the northern water source, clear as day, moving slowly, grazing. Is it prophecy? Is it wishful thinking? Is it memory of where he saw them 2 days ago, processed during sleep? It doesn't matter. The information is noted, considered. Plans begin to form, but loosely. The group needs food. That's always true. The question is what kind and where to find it. Lyra mentions that certain berry bushes near the eastern ridge were nearly ripe 3 days ago. They should be perfect now. Another woman, Senna, skilled in her late 30s with quick hands, suggests checking the cattail stands by the stream. The roots are starchy and filling. Aaron nods toward Torek. The antelope, Torek shrugs. Worth trying if the dream was true, if they haven't moved. None of these are orders. Nobody is in charge in the way we think of leadership. Instead, decisions emerge from discussion, from consensus, from individuals choosing to follow those with relevant expertise. The hunters exchange glances. Nods. A hunt might be worth attempting, but hunts fail more often than they succeed. So the gatherers will go out regardless. This is the rhythm of survival. Multiple strategies, multiple food sources. Never rely on one thing alone. Children are playing now, their energy infectious. They're not playing anything structured, nothing with rules. Running, chasing, wrestling. The physical play that builds strength and coordination. The adults watch with half their attention, letting the kids be kids, but ready to intervene if play gets too rough or someone wanders too far. Meanwhile, practical concerns are being addressed. Someone is checking tools from yesterday. Is that spear point still secure in its shaft? Did that carrying basket develop any weak spots that need repairing? These aren't chores in the modern sense. They're not unpleasant tasks you do before getting to what you really want to do. They're part of life, as natural as breathing. And all of this is happening without any sense of time pressure. The sun is higher now, the morning chill beginning to fade. Aaron's stomach reminds him it's empty. Other people are probably feeling the same. Soon attention will turn to food, but not yet. For now, they're warm, they're safe. They're surrounded by people who know them, who care about their survival, because their survival increases everyone else's chances. This is community in its most fundamental form. Not a voluntary association, not a social club you can quit. Your life depends on these people, and theirs depends on you. I know something about loneliness now. For 40 years, I had Helen. Coming home to her was as natural as breathing. We'd sit at the kitchen table and I'd tell her about my day, the artifacts we found, the theories we were testing, the graduate students who couldn't tell a Clovis point from a piece of broken glass. She'd listen, ask questions, Make me explain things simply, which is harder than it sounds. Then she was gone, and the house became an echo chamber. I tried going to faculty events, department parties, but I'd stand there with a drink in my hand making small talk with colleagues and feel completely alone. Because connection isn't about proximity, it's about meaning. Aaron's tribe has meaning built into every interaction. When Lyra looks at him across the fire, she's not seeing her husband alone. She's seeing the father of her children, the hunter who will help feed the group today, the man who will defend them if danger comes. When Elder Oren tends the fire, he's not doing a chore. He's fulfilling a role that gives him purpose. That tells him he still matters, even though his legs can't carry him on long hunts anymore. Every person in that circle of 30 knows exactly where they belong. When's the last time you felt that? Let me tell you about breakfast. Except Aaron doesn't have breakfast. Not in the way you think about it. He doesn't wake up at 7 a.m., stumble to the kitchen, and pour himself a bowl of cereal. He doesn't have meal times at all. Not really. He eats when food is available, when hunger demands it, when opportunity presents itself. This might sound chaotic, but it wasn't. It was perfectly adapted to reality. Right now, Aaron's stomach is growling. So he eats. Simple as that. What he's eating depends entirely on what's available. There's leftover meat from 3 days ago, when the hunters brought down a pronghorn. It's been hanging in the cool back of the shelter away from direct sunlight, wrapped in the animal's own hide. The autumn air has kept it from spoiling, though it's starting to develop that slightly gamey smell. They should probably finish it today. Arun pulls off a strip and chews it slowly. It's tough, requires real jaw work, but it's protein and fat, exactly what his body needs after a night of sleep. His teeth are strong, his jaw muscles powerful. Dental analysis of Paleolithic skulls shows remarkable wear patterns, evidence of lifetimes spent processing tough foods. But those same teeth show something else. Microscopic plant residues. Starch grains from roots and tubers. Phytoliths from seeds and nuts. Aaron's people aren't eating meat alone. They're eating everything. Beside the meat, there is a wooden bowl, really, a section of bark folded and sealed with pine resin filled with hazelnuts, gathered 5 days ago during the last gathering expedition. Arun cracks a few between his back molars. The technique passed down through generations. He learned it watching his mother when he was near his age. Now Kai watches him learning the exact angle and pressure needed to crack the shell without crushing the meat inside. Next to the nuts, there is a leather pouch containing dried berries. Blackberries gathered during late summer abundance and dried in the sun. They're wrinkled now, concentrated sweetness. Aaron eats a handful. The sugar hits his system immediately, providing quick energy. But the real treasure is the basket of cattail roots near the fire. Old Vela dug these up yesterday from the stream bank. They're starchy and nutritious, but basically inedible raw. So they've been placed near the fire. Not in it. Close enough that the heat is slowly breaking down the tough fibers, converting complex starches into digestible sugars. This is cooking, but not like you know it. No recipes, no precise temperatures, no timers. Knowledge accumulated over thousands of generations about what heat does to different foods. The roots have been sitting there all night, slowly roasting in the residual heat from the fire that never quite goes out. By morning, they're soft enough to eat. Sweet enough to enjoy. Arun pulls one out, careful not to burn his fingers. It's hot, but manageable. He peels away the outer layer and bites into the flesh. It's not delicious by modern standards, but it's filling, and more importantly, it's safe. Raw, these roots contain compounds that would give him a nasty stomachache or worse. Cooked, they're perfectly edible. This transformation, turning inedible plants into food through fire, might be one of the most important technological breakthroughs in human history. It effectively doubled or tripled the number of plant species Arun's people could eat. Tubers that were toxic raw became staple foods when roasted. Seeds that would pass through the digestive system unchanged became valuable nutrition when ground and heated. The evidence for this incredible dietary diversity comes from multiple sources. Coprolites, fossilized feces, found at archaeological sites across the Americas. When scientists analyze them under microscopes, they find an astonishing variety of plant remains. Seeds from dozens of different species. Pollen from flowers. Microscopic fragments of leaves, roots, bark. Some coprolites show evidence of insects, grasshoppers, beetle larvae, termites. These might seem unappetizing to modern palates, but they're actually excellent sources of protein and fat. And your ancestors ate them, not out of desperation, as part of a balanced, varied diet that would put most modern nutrition plans to shame. As Arun eats his morning meal, others are doing the same. Lyra is sharing nuts with little Nira, showing her how to crack them, how to pick out the meat without getting shell fragments. Nira's not very good at it yet. Her small hands lack the strength and coordination. But she's learning. In a few years, she'll be teaching her own younger siblings, or cousins, or the next generation of children born into this tribe. Old Vela is preparing something more complex. She's taken some of the leftover meat and is pounding it between two stones, mixing it with rendered fat and dried berries. She's making pemmican, though she doesn't call it that. Food that lasts, concentrated nutrition that can be carried on long journeys or stored for lean times. This is knowledge, technical and precise. The ratio of meat to fat to berries has to be right, or it spoils. The pounding has to be thorough, or it doesn't bind together. Vela learned this from her mother, who learned it from hers. A chain of knowledge transmissions stretching back thousands of generations. Nobody's eating alone. That almost never happens. Food is social, shared, distributed according to complex rules that everyone understands implicitly. The hunter who made the kill 3 days ago isn't eating any more than anyone else. In fact, he might be eating less, because that's how the system works. Kill an animal, share it with the group. When someone else makes a kill, they'll share with you. This is insurance, risk pooling, the social glue that keeps the group together. Children run back and forth stealing bites from different adults, getting swatted away playfully, or having food pressed into their hands. Nobody's stingy with children. There's always enough to go around. Or if there isn't, the adults eat less to make sure the young ones get fed. The meal isn't formal or ceremonial. People eat standing up, sitting down, walking around, checking tools, talking, laughing, but it serves crucial social functions anyway. Everyone's together, reinforcing bonds, sharing information, making plans for the day. Who's going to gather plants today? Who's going hunting? Who's staying back to work on that pronghorn, hide that needs finishing? These decisions happen organically, emerging from consensus rather than command. Lyra mentions that the hazelnut trees by the northern grove should be producing well right now. Several women and older children volunteer to check. Torek brings up those antelope from his dream. The hunters exchange glances, nod, start mentally preparing for a possible pursuit. Food preparation continues throughout this conversation. Hands are always busy. Someone's grinding seeds between stones. Someone else is sorting through dried herbs, discarding any that show signs of mold. Kai is learning to use a sharp flint flake to slice thin strips of meat, preparing them for drying in the sun. These skills are crucial, and they're learned entirely through observation and practice. No written recipes, no formal instruction. Children watch adults, try to imitate, get corrected, try again. By the time they're adults themselves, they possess encyclopedic knowledge about food. Which plants are edible and when? How to identify them in different seasons? Where to find them? How to process them? How to store them? This knowledge base is staggering. Ethnographic studies of modern hunter-gatherers show they typically know detailed information about 200 to 300 plant species. They know which parts are edible, which require processing, which are medicinal, which are tadi, which are useful for other purposes like cordage or poison for arrow tips. Aaron's people almost certainly possess similar knowledge. They had to, their survival depended on it. Eat the wrong mushroom and you're dead. Fail to properly prepare the certain roots and you're spending the next 3 days with debilitating cramps. This isn't casual knowledge. This is life and death information carefully preserved and transmitted across generations. As the morning meal winds down, the fire is fed a few more sticks. The embers never go out entirely if someone's paying attention. Fire is too valuable, too difficult to make from scratch. Better to keep it alive, feeding it regularly, protecting it from rain and wind. Someone's always responsible for fire tending, usually rotating through different individuals. Today it'll be Elder Oren through the morning, with young Mika learning beside him. The old man and the 9-year-old girl. She's eager to learn. He's patient in teaching. This pairing isn't random, it's strategic. Oren can't hunt anymore. His knees are bad, his eyesight is failing, but his mind is sharp, his hands are steady, and he has 62 years of knowledge to pass on. Mika is quick and curious. She asks endless questions. She remembers everything. In 5 years, she'll know things that will keep the tribe alive. And she'll remember that she learned them from Oren sitting by the fire on mornings like this. This is education. This is culture. This is how humans survive for hundreds of thousands of years. Not through books or schools or formal lessons, through proximity, through observation, through the simple act of living together. The meal wasn't elaborate, but it was adequate. Everyone's eaten something, bellies are reasonably full, Energy levels are sufficient for whatever the day will bring. And that's really all that matters. Erin's people aren't gourmets, but they understand nutrition in a deep, intuitive way. They know that variety matters, that different foods provide different benefits, that balance across days and weeks is more important than perfection at every meal. They're eating to live, but they're also living to eat. Food is pleasure even when it's simple. The satisfaction of cracking a nut perfectly, the sweetness of ripe berries, the rich fattiness of bone marrow roasted over fire. These aren't calories alone. They're experiences, shared moments, connections to the landscape and to each other. And now, with morning fully arrived and stomachs filled, it's time to decide what comes next. The day's real activities are about to begin. Lyra stands brushing crumbs from her hands. She looks at the other women. The hazelnuts. They nod. Senna adds, and the cattails by the stream. Vela's roots are nearly gone. If 4 women, 2 older children, little Nera will stay behind with the elders. She's too small for a long walk yet. Aaron watches his wife prepare. She's gathering her tools. A digging stick, fire-hardened and worn smooth from use. Several baskets woven from plant fibers nested inside each other. A leather bag for small finds. She's done this 1,000 times, but he still worries. A twisted ankle, a surprise encounter with a predator. The world is full of dangers even for experienced gatherers, but she catches his eye and smiles. That same small, private smile from this morning. She'll be fine. She's always fine. The hunters are preparing too. Arun Torek and 4 others. They're checking spears. Each one a masterpiece of engineering that took days to create. The wooden shaft carefully straightened over fire and seasoned for months to prevent warping. The stone point napped from high-quality flint hafted with plant resin and sinew. Some of the hunters also carry atlatls, spear throwers that use leverage to triple the velocity and distance of a thrown spear. This technology revolutionized hunting, made it possible to take down large animals from a safer distance. But it requires practice, years of practice. Kai is watching his father prepare, eager, wanting to come along, but Aaron shakes his head. Not today, you stay. Work with Oren on that blade you're making. Disappointment flashes across Kai's face, but he doesn't argue. At 12, he's learning that there's a time for everything. Soon he'll be ready. Soon he'll join the hunts. But not today. The sun is well above the horizon now. The morning chill has burned off completely. It's time. The gatherers head east toward the ridge where the hazelnut trees grow. The hunters head north following yesterday's tracks, hoping Torek's dream was prophecy and not wishful thinking. Those staying behind the elders and youngest children settle into their own rhythms. Oren and Mika tending the fire, Vela sorting herbs, others repairing tools or working hides. And Aaron walks into the wilderness spear in hand, the autumn sun warm on his shoulders. He has no idea if they'll find the antelope. He has no idea if the hunt will succeed. But he knows one thing with absolute certainty. He is exactly where he belongs, doing exactly what he was born to do, with people who matter. And for now, in this moment, that's enough. I think about Aaron sometimes when I wake up at 5 in the morning in my empty house. I think about the certainty he must have felt, the sense of purpose. I had that once when I was younger, when Helen was alive, when Iris was small and would climb into my lap and ask me to tell her about the people who lived long ago. I had purpose then, but somewhere along the way I lost it. Work became about publications instead of discovery, about tenure instead of truth, about reputation instead of understanding. And then one day I looked up and I was 68 years old, living alone, eating frozen dinners in front of the television, wondering what happened, wondering what it was all for. But Arun is teaching me something. Purpose doesn't come from achievement. It comes from connection, from belonging to something larger than yourself, from knowing that what you do matters, not because it'll be remembered in 1,000 years, but because it matters today, to the people right here, right now. Iris's birthday's in 5 days. I'm going to call her, really call her, not to tell her about my research, not to lecture her about anthropology, to ask how she is, how the kids are, what they're interested in these days. To connect, like Arun sitting by the fire with his family, like humans have done for 40,000 years, or longer. The gatherers are walking now, moving through landscape that looks nothing like the New Mexico we know today. No desert, not yet. Instead, grasslands, wetter, cooler, dotted with stands of trees that won't survive the coming millennia of climate change. Lyra leads. She knows this territory better than anyone. Every plant, every useful species, every hidden danger. And Aaron is walking too, following tracks, reading signs, his mind focused and quiet. The day has begun, and we're going to follow it, slowly, carefully, all the way to sunset, all the way to the lesson that changed my life. The sun climbs higher. Laura and her gathering party have been walking for nearly an hour. The pace is steady but unhurried. Conversation flows easily between the women, punctuated by observations about the landscape. Senna points out fresh bear tracks near a fallen log. The prints are large but old, 2 days give or take. The bear has moved on, likely heading toward the river where salmon are still running. This information gets filed away. Noted, added to the collective map that exists in their minds. Because that's what this landscape is to them. Not scenery, not wilderness. Home, every tree has a story. Every rock formation marks a boundary or a meeting place. Every stream is named, though the names are lost to us now, buried under 40,000 years of silence. The younger children are excited. This is an adventure for them, a chance to explore beyond the immediate area of the shelter. But they're learning too, watching where the adults step, noticing what plants the women pause to examine, absorbing knowledge they don't even realize they're acquiring. One of the girls, 7 years old, spots something and calls out. She's found a cluster of mushrooms growing on a rotting stump. Lyra approaches carefully, kneels down, examines them from multiple angles, even smells them. Mushrooms are tricky. Some are nutritious and delicious. Others cause violent illness. A few will kill you, shutting down your liver over the course of agonizing days. Lyra picks 3, leaves the rest. She's certain about these ones. They're a species her mother showed her 20 years ago. She's eaten them dozens of times, but caution is always wise. The girl who found them beams with pride. She'll remember this moment. Remember which mushrooms are safe. Remember the method of identification. And 20 years from now, she'll teach her own daughter. This is how knowledge survives. Not written down, not recorded. Passed from hand to hand, generation to generation, an unbroken chain stretching back to the beginning of human time. They reached the hazelnut grove by mid-morning, and Lyra was right. The trees are heavy with nuts. More than enough for today and tomorrow and the day after that. The women spread out, working efficiently. They've done this before, many times. The technique is simple but effective. Shake the branches, gather the nuts that fall, move to the next tree. Within an hour, their baskets are half full. 20 pounds of hazelnuts. Each one a compact package of fat and protein that will keep through the winter if stored properly. This is a good find, a significant contribution to the tribe's food security. But they're not done. Senna leads them toward the stream, the cattail stand she mentioned. The roots are ready now, she's certain, and she's right. The women wade into the shallow water, cool but not cold, the mud squelching between their toes. They use their digging sticks to loosen the roots, then pull them up by hand. Each root is the size of a forearm, pale, knobbly, covered in mud, ugly but valuable. These roots will be roasted tonight, sweet and filling, a staple food that saved the tribe through lean times more than once. They work for another hour, digging, rinsing, packing the roots carefully in baskets lined with wet leaves to keep them fresh. The children help. The 7-year-old who found the mushrooms is learning to identify cattails by their distinctive leaves, learning where they grow, learning when the roots are ready. This is education. But it's nothing like sitting in a classroom. It's survival knowledge demonstrated with actual plants, reinforced through repetition, encoded in stories. By the time she's Lyra's age, this girl will know 300 different plant species by sight, by season, by location. She'll know which ones are edible, which ones are medicinal, which ones will kill. She'll know when to harvest each one, how to prepare it, what it's useful for. Modern botanists spend years in university learning to identify plants. These women learn it by necessity, starting in early childhood, because getting it wrong means death. By early afternoon, the gathering party is ready to return. Their baskets are full, heavy with food that will feed the entire tribe tonight. They've walked 6 miles total. Their feet hurt. Their shoulders ache from the weight. But they're satisfied. This is good work, important work, the kind of work that keeps everyone alive. And here's what nobody tells you about prehistoric life. This work, this gathering that provided 60 to 80% of the tribe's calories, is done. 3 hours of actual labor. 4 if you count the walking. The rest of the day free. Meanwhile, Arun and his hunters are having a very different experience. They left the shelter at dawn before the gathering party, following tracks from yesterday that Torek had noticed during a solo scout. They've been tracking the antelope herd for 3 hours now. The signs are good. fresh droppings, tracks from this morning. Grass recently cropped, still wet with the moisture from the animals' mouths. Torek's dream was accurate. The herd is here, somewhere close. But close isn't enough. Hunting isn't about finding animals. It's about getting close enough to kill them. And animals are fast, alert, and very good at not dying. The hunters spread out, moving carefully, reading the landscape for any advantage. They find the herd around midday. 8 antelope, grazing in a shallow valley near a water source. Perfect. The hunters crouch behind a ridge assessing, planning. They could try an ambush, creeping close through the tall grass, hoping to get within spear range before the animals bolt. But ambush hunts fail more often than they succeed. Antelope have exceptional eyesight and hearing. One wrong sound, one shift in the wind, and they're gone. So Aaron suggests a different approach. Persistence hunting, the technique that humans uniquely among all predators have perfected. Here's what makes humans terrifying to hunters. We can't outrun almost any animal in a sprint. A healthy antelope can hit 50 miles per hour. A human tops out around 15. But we have something no other animal has. We can run for hours in the heat of the day without overheating. Thanks to our nearly hairless bodies and incredible capacity for sweating, we can maintain pursuit long after other predators would collapse from heat exhaustion. Most animals covered in fur and lacking efficient cooling systems have to stop and rest after intense exertion, or they'll literally cook from the inside. But humans, we keep going. The hunters nod, agreement without words. They've done this before. They spread out in a loose arc. Then they start moving toward the herd. Not running, jogging, a steady, sustainable trot. The antelope spot them immediately, and they run. They're gone in seconds, disappearing over the ridge, fast as wind. But the humans don't stop. They follow the tracks at that same steady pace, reading the signs, keeping up the pressure. 1 hour passes, 2 hours. The sun is brutal now, the kind of heat that would drop most predators in their tracks. But the humans keep moving. Their bodies are designed for exactly this kind of endurance. They're sweating profusely, yes, but that's the point. Each drop of moisture evaporating from their skin is carrying away heat that would otherwise build up and shut down their muscles. They find the herd again, and the antelope run again, but they're showing signs of stress now. Their tongues hang out. They're panting heavily. They can't cool down fast enough. The chase continues. 3 hours, 4 hours. The trackers are rotating the lead position, allowing individuals to drop back and recover slightly while others maintain the pressure. This is cooperative hunting at its finest. No single human could do this alone. But a coordinated group communicating constantly, sharing the effort, can accomplish what seems impossible. I tried jogging last month, first time in 5 years. Made it half a mile before my knees started screaming, before my lungs felt like they were on fire. I'm 68, out of shape, soft from years behind a desk. But 40,000 years ago, at 35, Aaron could run for 5 hours straight. His body was a machine, lean, hard, capable of feats that would hospitalize most modern humans. Not because he was special, because he used his body the way it was designed to be used, every day, for his entire life. We sit in chairs, we drive cars, we take elevators, and we wonder why our bodies hurt, why our backs ache, why we can't sleep. We've forgotten that we're animals, built to move, built to endure. Arun never forgot. Finally, after nearly 5 hours of pursuit, the hunters close in on a single antelope that is separated from the herd. The animal is stumbling now, its cooling system overwhelmed, its muscles beginning to fail from the combination of heat and exhaustion. Torek moves in close enough for a spear throw. The weapon flies true, strikes behind the shoulder. Moments later, it's over. The hunters stand around the fallen animal, not cheering, not celebrating, not yet. First comes respect. Torek makes a quick, precise cut, offers a prayer or acknowledgement. We can't know the exact words, but evidence from multiple prehistoric sites suggests early humans performed some kind of ritual around successful kills. Respect for the animal that gave its life. Gratitude to whatever spirits or forces they believe governed the hunt. Then comes the practical work. Butchering. This is itself a sophisticated technical operation. These hunters know animal anatomy better than most modern surgeons know human anatomy. Every muscle group, every organ, every useful piece. They work quickly and efficiently. The hide comes off in one piece, valuable for clothing and shelter. The choicest cuts of meat are separated for immediate consumption, for carrying back to camp. Organs that spoil quickly are prepared for eating on site. The liver, the heart, rich in nutrients. The stomach contents are examined. What was the animal eating? This information tells them about plant availability, about the health of the grazing land. Nothing is wasted. Even the bones will eventually be cracked open for their marrow. One of the most nutrient-dense foods available. But here's the problem. They're 5 miles from camp, and they've produced several hundred pounds of meat and materials. They can't carry it all in one trip, and leaving meat unattended means scavengers, lions, hyenas, vultures. Within hours, everything would be gone. So two of the younger hunters head back to camp at speed to bring reinforcements. The rest stay with the kill, building a fire to keep scavengers at bay, beginning the process of smoking some of the meat for preservation. Within a few hours, more people arrive from camp. Elders who can still walk, children old enough to help carry, women who left their gathering early when they heard the news. Everyone participates in the harvest. The trip back to camp is a celebration. Successful hunts are rare enough that they're social events. There will be feasting tonight, stories told around the fire, probably dancing and music. The hunters will recount the chase in detail, how Torek made the killing throw, how the antelope tried to rejoin its herd but couldn't keep up, and in the telling, it will become part of the community's collective memory. Another story to teach young people about strategy, persistence, cooperation. Another thread in the web of culture that holds the tribe together. Back at the shelter, the day has its own rhythm for those who remained. Elder Orrin and young Mika are working on fire maintenance, teaching moment by teaching moment. Orrin shows her how to read the flames, how to know when to add wood and when to let it burn down, how to select the right fuel. Hardwood for long-burning coals, softwood for quick, hot flames, how to protect the fire from wind and rain, how to restart it if it goes out. This is knowledge that could mean the difference between life and death. Fire keeps them warm, protects them from predators, makes inedible foods edible, provides light when darkness falls. Lose the ability to make or maintain fire, and the tribe is in serious danger. So this education is crucial. And Mika, at 9 years old, is a quick study. She asks questions constantly. Why does wetwood smoke? How did people make fire before we had fire? What happens if lightning strikes a tree? Can we take that fire? Orrin answers patiently. Sometimes he knows the answer. Sometimes he doesn't. I don't know why wetwood smokes, he admits, but I know it does, so we keep our wood dry. This honesty is important. He's not pretending to know everything. He's sharing what he knows and acknowledging the limits of his knowledge. It's a lesson in humility, in intellectual honesty, something I wish more academics understood. I spent 40 years in universities, and I watched colleagues, brilliant people, refuse to say, I don't know. They'd speculate, theorize, make educated guesses, but rarely would they admit ignorance. Elder Orrin, 62 years old, illiterate, living in what we'd call primitive conditions, understands something many PhDs don't. It's okay not to know everything. It's okay to say, I don't know, but let's find out together. Nearby, Shaman Vela is working with a different kind of knowledge. She's preparing medicines. Bark from a willow tree, which when boiled makes a tea that reduces fever and pain. We now know it contains salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin. But Vela doesn't know about salicylic acid. She knows it works. Leaves from a particular plant that when made into a poultice help wounds heal faster. Antibacterial properties we wouldn't understand for thousands of years. But Vela knows, because her mother taught her, and her mother's mother before that. An unbroken chain of empirical observation stretching back centuries. Trial and error, experimentation, careful attention to what works and what doesn't. This is science. Primitive science, yes, but science nonetheless. Observation, hypothesis, testing, refinement. They didn't have labs or control groups, but they had something equally valuable. Time. Thousands of years to observe, to experiment, to learn. And the knowledge they accumulated rivals anything we've discovered in the last century. I once tried to make a willow bark tea, following instructions from an ethnobotany textbook. I harvested the wrong bark, from the wrong part of the tree, at the wrong time of year. The tea tasted terrible and did nothing for my headache. Vela would have laughed at me. She knows exactly which trees, which bark, when to harvest, how to prepare. Knowledge I couldn't learn from a book in 40 years. Knowledge she learned by watching and doing since she was Mika's age. The afternoon sun is warm but not oppressive. Those who stayed at camp are settling into various tasks. Some are working on hides, scraping away fat and membrane, beginning the long process of tanning. Others are repairing tools, resharpening blades, replacing broken spear shafts. Kai is working with Elder Oren on stone napping. He's been at it for an hour, and he's frustrated. Every strike produces useless flakes. The stone won't cooperate. His hands hurt. Oren watches patiently. The stone tells you where it wants to break, he says quietly. You have to listen. Kai strikes again, another failed attempt. He throws the stone down in anger. Oren doesn't scold him, doesn't tell him to control his temper. Instead, he picks up the stone, examines it. This one's no good, he says. Wrong grain. See these inclusions? They make it unpredictable. He tosses it aside, selects another piece from his collection. Try this one. Kai takes it, reluctant, still angry, but he tries. This time the flake comes off clean. Perfect. His eyes widen. I did it. Oren smiles. The stone did it. You gave it the chance. This is teaching, not through lecture, through experience. Let the students struggle. Let them fail. But guide them towards success. Don't do it for them. Show them how to do it themselves. By the time Kai is 20, he'll be one of the best toolmakers in the tribe. Not because someone forced him, because he wanted to learn, because he saw the value, because Elder Oren had the patience to let him figure it out. And then around 2 in the afternoon, something remarkable happens. The gathering party returns, baskets full of hazelnuts and cattail roots. The hunting party returns, carrying several hundred pounds of antelope meat. The day's work is done. Food has been secured. More than enough for today. Enough for tomorrow. The day after as well. The tribe is fed, safe, together. And there are still 6 hours of daylight left. So what do? They rest. They play. They exist. This is the part that changed my understanding of everything. This is the moment I realized that we've been looking at human history backwards. We think of progress as working more, producing more, having more. We think our ancestors were desperately poor in time and resources, that every moment was a struggle, but the evidence shows something different. Aaron and his people worked 4 to 6 hours today, gathering 3 hours, hunting 5 hours for Aaron's party, but only 6 men out of 30 hunted. Tool maintenance an hour or so for those who stayed behind. Fire tending ongoing but not labor intensive. The average person in this tribe worked 4 hours today on survival tasks. Compare that to a modern American. 8-hour workday. 1 hour commute each way. That's 10 hours. Add in evening emails, weekend catch-up work, the mental labor of always being on call. We work 12, 14, 16 hours a day, and we call it progress. Aaron is sitting in the shade now, his back against a sun-warmed rock. Little Nira has climbed into his lap. She's chattering about something half words and half sounds. At 5, she's still learning language. He's not really listening to the words, but he's completely present, running his fingers through her hair, answering when she pauses, letting her talk. This moment has no purpose, no goal, no productivity metric. A father and daughter, together in the warmth of an autumn afternoon. When's the last time you did that? Sat with someone you love? No phone, no TV, no agenda. Being. I can't remember the last time I did it. Even when Helen was alive, even when Iris was small, I was always thinking about the next thing, the next paper, the next grant application, the next conference, always working, always busy, always important. But Arun understands something I forgot. The moments aren't in the working, they're in the spaces between. Around the camp, other people are doing similar things. Lyra is having her hair braided by Senna. They're talking, laughing, sharing stories about their children. 2 of the hunters are playing a game with small stones, taking turns trying to knock the other's stones out of a circle drawn in the dust. It's competition, but friendly, low stakes, a way to pass time. Some of the children are wrestling, rough play that teaches them about strength, balance, cooperation. The adults watch with half their attention, ready to intervene if it gets too rough, but letting them be kids. Elder Oren is napping, his breathing slow and even, face peaceful. At 62, he's earned the right to rest when he wants. Shaman Vela is doing something I find fascinating. She's carving a small piece of bone from yesterday's meal, using a sharp flint flake as her tool. Slowly, patiently, a shape is emerging. An antelope, recognizable, beautiful. She's been working on it for days, weeks even. It serves no practical purpose. Won't help her hunt or gather, won't keep her warm or fed. It's art, pure and simple. The creation of beauty for its own sake. We've found thousands of these small carvings at archaeological sites. Animals, human figures, abstract patterns, evidence that our ancestors didn't survive alone. They created. They made music, carved figurines, painted images on cave walls, not because they had to, because they wanted to, because making beautiful things is part of what makes us human. I have a small carved figure in my office, a mammoth, found at a site in France, 30,000 years old. I've looked at it 1,000 times, studied it, cataloged it, written about it, but until I watched Vela carving, I never really understood it. That mammoth wasn't made by someone desperate and starving, barely surviving. It was made by someone who had time, who had leisure, who had the mental and physical space to think about beauty. Someone who worked 4 hours that day and spent the afternoon making art. Someone not so different from Vela, or Aaron, or any of us. I'm sitting at my desk in Santa Fe, 2 in the morning, can't sleep. Been reading my notes about Aaron's day for hours now, and I keep coming back to this moment. 2 p.m., work done, 6 hours of daylight left. What would I do with 6 hours of free time every day? Not Netflix, not email, not busy work, real leisure, real rest, real connection. I've been thinking about Iris, about the 4 months of silence between us. 4 months of texts that say nothing. Phone calls I mean to make, but don't. Because I'm busy. Always busy. Except I'm not. Not really. I'm retired. I have all the time in the world. I'm choosing to fill it with work that doesn't need doing. Research that nobody asked for. Papers that nobody will read. Because I'm afraid. Afraid of the silence. Afraid of the empty hours. Afraid of sitting still long enough to feel what I've lost. But Aaron isn't afraid of stillness. He sits with his daughter in his lap. No agenda, no schedule, present. And I realize something. I don't have to wait 5 days until Iris's birthday. I could text her right now. I pull out my phone, stare at it. It's 2 in the morning. She'll be asleep, but she'll see it when she wakes up. I start typing. I know it's late. I wanted to say I love you, and I'm sorry for the distance, for the silence, for forgetting what matters. Your birthday's Friday. Can I call you then really talk? I stare at it for 10 minutes before I hit send. My heart is pounding, like I'm asking someone on a first date, not texting my own daughter. But that's what fear does. It makes even simple things feel impossible. I press send. The message goes through. Now I wait. I go back to my notes, try to focus, but I keep checking my phone. 20 minutes later, it vibrates. A response. Dad, yes, I'd like that. I love you too. I read it 3 times. Then I cry. Right there at my desk, surrounded by artifacts from people who've been dead for 40,000 years, learning from them how to live. As the afternoon wanes, the energy shifts again. People are beginning to think about the evening meal. The antelope meat needs to be distributed, prepared, cooked. This isn't one person's job. It's communal. The hunters who made the kill don't keep more than anyone else. In fact, there's an elaborate system of sharing that ensures everyone gets fed. The hunters get first choice of certain cuts, but they're expected to be generous. The elders get special portions, the fattiest pieces, the most tender cuts, because they've earned it through years of contribution. And because their bodies need the extra nutrition now that they can't hunt themselves. Children get plenty. Growing bodies need fuel. Nursing mothers get extra. They're feeding too. It's not equal distribution. It's equitable distribution. Based on need, based on contribution, based on complex social calculations that everyone understands implicitly. If you try to hoard meat, the tribe remembers. Next time when you're hungry and someone else makes a kill, they'll be less generous with you. But if you're known for sharing for generosity, people take care of you. This is insurance. This is the foundation of human cooperation. I give to you when I have plenty. You give to me when you have plenty. Together, we smooth out the unpredictability of hunting and gathering. Together, we survive. The meat is being prepared now. Some will be roasted over the fire tonight. Quick, hot flames that char the outside while keeping the inside tender. Some will be smoked, hung over lower flames for hours, the smoke preserving it, making it last for days. Some will be made into that pemmican Vela was working on this morning, mixed with fat and berries, pounded until it binds together. Different preservation methods for different needs, and through it all, conversation. Laughter. The telling and retelling of today's hunt. How the antelope tried to double back. How Torek's throw was perfect. How they almost lost the herd in the second hour. The story is being refined with each telling, exaggerated slightly, made more dramatic. Not lies. The natural human tendency to make a good story better. And that's important too. Because these stories aren't entertainment alone, they're education. Young hunters listening are learning strategy, learning what works, learning from others' experience so they don't have to make every mistake themselves. This is culture. This is the transmission of knowledge through narrative. Humans have been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, long before writing, long before schools. We learn through stories, around fires, generation after generation. I think about my own father sometimes. He died when I was 30. Heart attack. Sudden. And I realized after he was gone that I'd never really listened to his stories. He tried to tell me about growing up during the Depression, about the war, about building his first house with his own hands. But I was always too busy, too focused on my own work, my own importance. I wish I could go back, sit with him, listen. The way Kai is listening now to the hunters tell their story, eyes wide, taking in every detail, learning not about hunting alone, but about being a man in his community, about courage and cooperation and coming home to share what you've earned. The sun is touching the western horizon now. Golden light slanting across the landscape, long shadows stretching from every rock and tree. This is the magic hour, the time when the world seems to hold its breath. The tribe is gathering around the fire, not because anyone called them, because this is where they gather when the sun goes down. The fire is their center, has been since before anyone can remember. It provides warmth, light, protection from predators, the means to cook food. But it's more than practical. It's symbolic. The fire is where they come together, where they become not individuals alone, but a tribe. Young Mika adds more wood, carefully, the way Oren taught her. The flames leap higher, sparks spiraling up into the darkening sky. The meat is roasting. The smell is incredible. Rich, primal. Stomachs are growling, mouths watering. But they wait, patiently, because eating together is important. It's not about filling bellies alone, it's about reinforcing bonds. Finally, Vela indicates it's ready, the meat is distributed, everyone gets a portion, and they eat. Not quickly, not frantically. There's enough. There's always enough when the hunt is successful. They eat slowly, savoring, talking between bites. This is communion, breaking bread together, or in this case sharing meat, the oldest human ritual, older than language, older than art. Eating together makes us human. I eat alone most nights now. Frozen meal, microwave, 3 minutes. Eat while watching the news, or scrolling on my tablet, alone in my house, alone with my thoughts. It's efficient, quick, but it's empty. There's no communion in a frozen dinner eaten in front of a screen. No connection, no meaning. Fuel alone. Calories. Aaron eats with his family, with his tribe. Every bite is a reminder that he belongs, that he matters, that he's part of something larger than himself. I had that once. Dinner table with Helen and Iris, before Iris went to college, before life got complicated. We'd sit for an hour, sometimes longer, talking, laughing, being together. That loss cuts deepest now. Not the big moments we missed, the small things, the ordinary evenings, the mundane intimacy of long partnership. But I can have it again, if I'm brave enough to try. Iris said yes, she'll talk to me on Friday, and I'm going to ask if she'll come visit. Bring Sam and Ellie. We'll have dinner together. A real dinner. No TV, no phones, us alone. Family, around our own fire. The way humans have done for 40,000 years. The way Arun is doing right now. His daughter Mika leaning against his shoulder. His wife Lyra smiling across the flames, his son Kai laughing at something one of the hunters said. Together, where they belong, where we all belong, if we can remember how. Night is falling now. The fire burns brighter as the sky darkens, orange flames against deep blue twilight. Stars are beginning to appear, one by one, then dozens, then hundreds. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a river of light, so bright it casts shadows, so vast it makes you feel small. Aaron lies back against a rolled hide. Looking up, he sees patterns in the stars, stories his grandfather taught him, animals and spirits and pathways. That cluster there, the one we call Orion, he knows as the hunter. 3 bright stars in a line the hunter's belt. That hazy patch, the Pleiades, he calls the 7 sisters. A story about daughters who fled to the sky to escape a bear. These aren't pretty tales alone. They're a calendar. When the hunter rises at dusk, winter is coming. Time to move to sheltered valleys. When the sisters appear at dawn, spring is near. Time to follow the herds to their calving grounds. The stars tell him when to move, where to go, what to expect. Navigation and prophecy written in light. We've lost this knowledge, most of us. We live under the same sky biome, but we can't read it anymore. Light pollution washes out the stars. Buildings block our view. Screens capture our attention. I went outside last night, here in Santa Fe, looked up. I could see 20 stars. If that, the Milky Way gone, hidden behind the glow of streetlights and shopping centers. We've traded the cosmos for convenience, and we don't even realize what we've lost. But Aaron sees it all, every night. The full glory of the universe unfolded above him. And he knows he's part of it, connected to it, not separate, not special, one more animal under the same ancient sky. There's humility in that, and strange comfort. Mika is lying next to her father, asking questions about the stars. Why do they move? Where do they go during the day? Will they always be there? Aaron doesn't know the physics, doesn't understand rotation and revolution and the speed of light, but he knows what matters. They've always been there, he tells her, since before the first people, since before the first fire. They'll be there after we're gone. Where do we go when we're gone? The question every child asks, every parent must answer. Aaron points to the stars. Some say we join them, become lights in the sky, watching over those we love. He doesn't know if it's true, nobody does. But it's a good story, a comforting story. And that's enough. Shaman Vela is preparing for something. She stands, walks to the edge of the firelight, returns with a bundles wrapped in leather. She unwraps it carefully, reverently. Inside is a bone flute, carved from the wing bone of a large bird, smoothed and polished from years of use. The tribe goes quiet, watching. Vela raises the flute to her lips, takes a breath, and the night fills with music. It's not sophisticated by modern standards. No complex harmonies, no polyphonic arrangements, a simple melody, haunting, beautiful, rising and falling like wind through trees, like bird calls at dawn, like the cry of wolves in the distance. The sound bypasses thought, goes straight to something deeper, something old. Some of the children begin to sway, moving with the rhythm. Then the adults join in, standing, moving, dancing, not choreographed, not planned, bodies responding to sound. This is music in its purest form, before concerts and recordings and streaming services. Music as communion, as connection, as the thing that makes us more than individuals alone. We're a tribe. We're together. We're human. The dancing continues for minutes, half an hour even. Time loses meaning when you're moving with others, when you're part of something larger. Finally, Vela lowers the flute. The music stops, but the feeling remains, that sense of unity, of belonging. I went to a concert last year, symphony orchestra, beautiful venue, 2,000 people sitting in silence, listening to professionals perform. It was lovely, technically perfect, but nobody danced, nobody moved, nobody connected. We sat, we observed, we applauded politely, then we went home. Alone. That's not what music was meant to be. Music was meant to be what Vela created. Participatory, communal, transformative. Something that changes you. Not something you consume. I'm learning this. Slowly. Last week I bought a harmonica, cheap thing from a music store. I'm terrible at it. Can barely make it produce anything resembling a melody. But sitting on my porch in the evening making noise trying to find a rhythm, it makes me feel something. Not accomplishment, not pride. Connection. To the air moving through the instrument. To the sound vibrating in my chest. To the same impulse that made Vela carve a flute from bone 40,000 years ago. The need to make beauty, to create sound, to participate in something larger than speech. It's silly. An old man learning harmonica. But it matters, because making music even badly is better than consuming it alone. Creating is better than observing. Doing is better than watching. The fire is burning lower now. Coals glowing red and orange. Storytelling begins. Elder Oren is the designated keeper of stories. The one who remembers. He settles himself comfortably. The tribe gathers close. Children in front. Adults behind them, everyone quiet, attentive. I will tell you, Oren begins, his voice soft but caring about the time of the great cold. This is a story they've heard before, many times, but that doesn't matter. Repetition is how memory works, how knowledge passes from generation to generation. Oren tells of a winter 15 years ago, when snow came early and stayed late, when the herds moved south and didn't return, when food became scarce, when 2 of the elders died, when they thought they might not survive. But they did, through cooperation, through sharing, through sacrifice. The young hunters gave their portions to the children. The gatherers found new plants, new food sources. They moved camp 3 times following any possibility of game, and they made it. Spring came. The herds returned. Life continued. The story isn't history alone. It's instruction. What to do when times are hard. How to survive when survival seems impossible. Stay together. Share what you have. Keep moving. Never give up. These lessons can't be taught in a classroom. They have to be felt, lived, remembered. So Oren tells the story, and the children listen, and the knowledge passes on. When he finishes, there's silence. Then young Kai speaks up. Were you afraid? Oren considers this, honest. Yes, he says. I was very afraid. We all were. But you survived. We survived because we had each other. That's the lesson, not bravery, not strength, connection, community. The simple fact that together we can survive things that would kill us alone. I was afraid when Helen died. Terrified, actually. Afraid of being alone. Afraid of the empty house. Afraid of having to learn to cook for one sleep in an empty bed, wake up with no one to talk to. And I was right to be afraid. Because it's hard. Harder than I imagined. But I'm learning that I don't have to be alone. Not really. I have Iris. If I can find the courage to reach out, I have colleagues. Friends I've neglected, but who would probably welcome a call. I have neighbors I've never really talked to. I have a whole world of possible connection. If I'm brave enough to try, like Arun's tribe, like the people who survived the Great Cold, together we can survive things that would kill us alone. After the stories come the preparations for sleep. But sleep doesn't come all at once. This is the biphasic pattern I mentioned earlier, the ancient rhythm of human rest. People settle onto their sleeping spots, the hides and grasses they've prepared. Children curl against parents. Partners press close for warmth. The fire is banked, not extinguished, never extinguished, but damped down to coals that will burn through the night. Someone, probably Oren, will wake in a few hours to feed it. The tribe grows quiet, but not everyone sleeps immediately. This is the wakeful period, the time between first and second sleep. Some people lie still, eyes open, thinking private thoughts. Others talk quietly, soft conversations in the darkness. Arun and Lyra are talking, too quiet for me to hear what they're saying. But I can see them, silhouettes against the faint glow of coals. They're planning tomorrow, or reminiscing about today, or talking about the children, the mundane intimacy of long partnership. This is the loss that still cuts deepest, not the big moments, not the vacations or anniversaries, the small things, the quiet conversations in the dark, the shared jokes, the comfort of having someone who knows you completely. Someone who can read your mood from your posture, who knows what you're thinking before you say it. I had that for 37 years, and I took it for granted. I thought we'd have more time. There's always more time, right? Except there isn't. Time is the one thing you can't get back, can't save up, can't borrow. It runs out. And then you're alone in a dark house wishing you'd appreciated what you had while you had it. But Arun understands time in a way I'm now learning. He's not thinking about tomorrow's hunt or yesterday's success. He's here, now, with his wife, in this moment, which is the only moment that ever really exists. I tried this last night, lying in bed, not checking my phone, not planning tomorrow, not replaying yesterday. It was harder than I expected. My mind raced. To-do lists, regrets, worries, but I kept bringing it back to my breath, to the feel of the sheets, to the sounds of the house settling. And for 5 minutes, I was actually present, actually here. It felt strange, unfamiliar, but also right, like coming home after a long journey. This is what I'm learning from Aaron, from this day 40,000 years ago. Presence, connection, simplicity, not as philosophical concepts, as practical reality. Work enough, rest more, be with people, make things, tell stories, watch the stars, live, actually live, not exist alone, not survive, not kill time until time kills you. Live. Eventually the tribe falls into true sleep. The fire burns low, the stars wheel overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howls, another answers. But the tribe sleeps on, safe, together, home. This day that started at dawn is ending in darkness. Arun worked 5 hours, give or take, hunting, walking, tracking. Lyra worked about the same, gathering, walking, processing food. The rest of the day was spent in ways we'd call unproductive, resting, playing, talking, making music, telling stories, being. And yet they survived, thrived even. They had enough food, enough warmth, enough safety. They had community. They had purpose. They had meaning. They had lives worth living. I spent 40 years studying these people, cataloging their tools, mapping their sites, publishing papers about their subsistence strategies. But I never really understood them. Not until now. Not until I lost everything I thought mattered and was forced to ask what actually does. Success recognition, publication, or connection. Presence. Time with people who matter. The answer is obvious when you ask the question. But we spend our whole lives avoiding the question. We work ourselves to death, literally. Chase promotions and raises in status. Accumulate things we don't need. Miss moments we can't get back. And we call it progress. But Aaron, sitting by his fire 40,000 years ago, knew something we've forgotten. You can't take any of it with you. The only thing that matters is how you spend your time while you have it, who you spend it with, what you create, what you give, whether you truly lived or simply existed. 5 days after I sent that text, Iris's birthday arrived. I called her at 2 in the afternoon. When I knew she'd be home from work, but before Sam and Ellie got back from school, she answered on the second ring. "Hi, Dad." Her voice. I hadn't heard it in 4 months, not really. Not beyond those brief, functional calls about logistics. "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Silence. Then, "Thank you." More silence, neither of us knowing what to say. Finally, I took a breath. "I miss you." I'd said it in the text, but saying it out loud felt different, harder, more real. "I miss you too, Dad." Her voice cracked a little, like she might cry. "Can you come visit?" I asked. "Bring Sam and Ellie. We'll have the dinner, a real dinner, like we used to. Whenever you can, this weekend, next month, tomorrow. I don't care. I want to see you." More silence. Then "this weekend. We'll drive down Friday night." "Okay, okay." We talked for another hour about nothing important, about everything important, how Sam was doing in school, how Ellie wanted to take art classes, how Iris's job was stressful but manageable, how I'd been sleeping better, how I'd started taking walks, how I'd been thinking about her and the kids, how I was sorry for the distance, for the years I'd spent working instead of being present, how I loved her, how proud I was of her, things I should have said years ago, things I'd somehow forgotten to say. When we hung up, I sat at my desk and cried, not from sadness, from relief. 4 months of silence broken. A bridge rebuilt with words and honesty and willingness to try. That was 2 months ago. She came. With the kids. They drove down Friday night and stayed through Sunday. I cooked badly, burned the chicken a little, overcooked the vegetables, but it didn't matter. We sat at the table. No TV, no phones. Us alone. Family. Sam told me about his basketball team, how he'd made starting lineup, how nervous he'd been for tryouts. Ellie showed me drawings she'd made, animals and landscapes and one of her grandmother. From a photo, but still. It looked like Helen, the eyes especially. Iris talked about her job, her frustrations, her hopes, how she was thinking about going back to school, how she worried about being a good mom. And I listened, really listened, not thinking about what I'd say next. Not mentally composing responses, hearing them, being present. It was the best evening I'd had in 5 years. When they left Sunday afternoon, Ellie hugged me and said, "Can we come back soon, Grandpa?" And I realized something. I'd been so focused on what I'd lost, I'd forgotten what I still had. A daughter who still loved me despite my neglect. Grandchildren who wanted to know me. Time. Not endless time, but enough, if I used it right. Now they come every month, sometimes more. We have what Iris calls fire circles. Dinner together, no devices, conversation alone. We tell stories. I tell them about their grandmother, about my research, about Aaron and his tribe. Iris tells stories about her childhood, things I'd forgotten or never knew. Sam and Ellie are starting to tell their own stories. School, friends, dreams. We're creating culture, creating memory, creating connection. Like Arun's tribe did around their fire, like humans have done for hundreds of thousands of years. I'm also working less, 4 hours a day, sometimes less. I consult occasionally, answer emails, review papers. But I'm not chasing anything anymore. Not publication, not recognition, not legacy. I'm living. I take walks in the morning. Long, slow walks through the desert around Santa Fe. I watch the sunrise, listen to birds, notice plants. I'm learning their names, their uses, becoming a student again instead of an expert. I'm carving, wood mostly, small figures, animals. They're not very good. My hands shake more than they used to, but that's not the point. The point is making something, using my hands, creating, like Vela carving her antelope from bone. Not for utility, for beauty, for the simple joy of making. I sleep better now, following the biphasic pattern I learned about in my research. Bed at 10, wake at 2, read for an hour or two, back to sleep until dawn. It felt strange at first, like insomnia. But now I realize it's not insomnia. It's natural. Those wakeful hours in the middle of the night are peaceful, quiet. Time to think, to process, to be awake in a sleeping world. Like Oren tending the fire while the tribe slept, finding purpose in the quiet hours. And last week during one of our fire circles, I played harmonica for Sam and Ellie. They laughed, not cruelly, delighted. Play another one, Grandpa. So I did, and we sang together, off-key and terrible, but together, making music, making memory, making meaning. Last month I went back to the site where I'd based my research on Arun, the rock shelter in northern New Mexico, where his tribe lived 40,000 years ago. I hadn't been there in 2 years, since before Helen died. I drove out alone, hiked the last mile in. The shelter was exactly as I remembered. Unchanged, unchanging. I sat where Arun might have sat, looking out at the landscape. It's different now, drier, hotter. The grasslands are gone, replaced by desert scrub, but the bones of the land are the same. The rocks, the horizon, the skam. I imagined Arun sitting here, watching the same sunset I was watching, thinking his thoughts, feeling his feelings. 40,000 years between us, an unimaginable gulf of time. But in that moment we were the same. Two men, sitting in the same place, under the same skate, both trying to understand what it means to be alive, to be human, to matter. I like to think he found his answer. I like to think his life had meaning, that he died knowing he'd lived well, that his children remembered him, his grandchildren heard stories about him, that some part of him continued, in memory, in genes, in the accumulated wisdom of his tribe. I'm starting to find my answer too. Meaning isn't in achievement, it's in connection. It's not in what you accumulate, it's in what you give. It's not in how long you live, it's in how fully you live the time you have. Arun lived 35 years. He might have made it to 50, or not, but he lived every day, fully, presently. He worked enough, rested enough, loved enough. He was part of something larger than himself, his tribe, his lineage, the long chain of human existence stretching back to the beginning. I'm 68. I might have 10 years left. I might have 20. I don't know. But however much time I have, I'm going to live it. Not fill it, not kill it. Live it. With Iris, with Sam and Ellie, with the people who matter, making things, telling stories. Sitting in silence when silence is what's needed. Watching sunrises, learning plants, playing terrible harmonica. Being present, being connected, being human, the way Aaron was human, the way we've been human for hundreds of thousands of years, before we forgot, before we traded time for money, connection for achievement, meaning for stuff. But we can remember. I'm remembering. And if an old archaeologist can remember, anyone can. So let me ask you something. You're listening to this, falling asleep or wide awake. But either way, you're here, now, in this moment. When's the last time you were really present? Not planning tomorrow, not replaying yesterday. Here alone. When's the last time you sat with someone you love without checking your phone? When's the last time you made something with your hands? When's the last time you watched the stars? I'm not saying you should quit your job and live in a cave. I'm not saying modern life is wrong and we should all go back to hunter-gathering. I'm saying we can learn something from Arun, from his 4-hour workday, his evenings around the fire, his presence with his family, from the way he belonged to something larger than himself, from the way he lived fully in the only time that ever really exists. Now, this moment, this breath, this heartbeat. You have ancestors who lived like Arun, thousands of them, tens of thousands. They survived droughts and ice ages and predators and plagues. They endured things we can't imagine, suffered losses we'll never know. But they also laughed, loved, made music, told stories. They lived. And every choice they made, every moment they survived, led to you. You're here because they were there. You carry their DNA, their genes, some echo of their memories even. You're part of an unbroken chain stretching back 40,000 years, longer even, all the way to the beginning. And one day, if you're lucky, you'll be the ancestor. Your grandchildren will carry your genes. Your great-grandchildren will hear stories about you. Some part of you will continue. In them, in memory, in the accumulated wisdom of your family. But only if you give them something worth remembering. Not money, not stuff. Time, presence, stories, connection, the things that actually matter. The things Aaron knew mattered. The things I'm finally learning matter. It's late now. The fire in Arun's camp is coals alone. The tribe is sleeping, deep in their second sleep. The stars are brilliant overhead. The Milky Way, a river of light. Somewhere in the distance, wolves are singing. And Arun, if he's awake, is listening. Not worried, not afraid. Listening, being alive. Tomorrow, he'll wake with the dawn, stretch, eat breakfast with his family. He might hunt, he might gather. He might make tools and play with his children. It doesn't matter. What matters is he'll be present, connected, part of something larger, living the way humans ever really lived, together, until we forgot, until we started thinking that progress meant working more, having more, doing more, until we traded our lives for lifestyles, our time for things, our connection for convenience. But we can remember. I'm remembering, and I'm 68 years old, set in my ways, stubborn. If I can change, anyone can. So here's what I'm asking you to do. Tonight before you sleep, try something. Turn off your screens, all of them. Sit in the quiet, a few minutes alone. Breathe, listen, be present. Like Arun 40,000 years ago sitting by his fire. Like every one of your ancestors going back to the beginning. Be. And tomorrow call someone you love. Not a text, not an email. Call them. Or better yet, visit them. Sit with them. No devices, no distractions. Be together. Tell them you love them. Listen to their stories. Share yours. Create memory. Create connection. Create meaning. Start your own fire circle. Even if it's you and one other person alone. Even if it's awkward at first. It's worth it. Because that's what we're meant for. Not productivity, not achievement, not accumulation. Connection, presence, community. The things that made us human, the things that kept us alive for hundreds of thousands of years. The things that will keep us alive now, if we remember. If we choose to live instead of existing alone. If we choose time over money. Presence over distraction. Connection over convenience. It's a choice. Every day, every moment. Choose wisely. Choose to live. The way Aaron lived. The way your ancestors lived. The way we're meant to live. The fire never went out. For 40,000 years, humans kept it alive. Feeding it. Protecting it. Passing it from generation to generation. Not literal fire alone, though that too, but the fire of connection, of community, of shared humanity. It's still burning, right now, in you, in me, in everyone who chooses to live fully instead of existing alone. We are the fire. We are the story that never ends. We are the echo of every ancestor who came before and the promise of everyone who comes after. We are the continuation of something that started long before we were born and will continue long after we're gone. But only if we tend it, only if we feed it, only if we remember what matters. So remember, be present, be connected, be human, work less, live more, make things, tell stories, watch stars, sit with people you love and be together. Create moments worth remembering, create a life worth living. Not someday, not when you retire, not when you have more time. Now, today, this moment. Because this moment is all we ever really have. And it's enough if we use it right, if we live it fully. If we remember what Aaron knew 40,000 years ago, that time isn't something to spend, it's something to live. So live it, please, for yourself, for your family, for all the ancestors who survived so you could be here, for all the descendants who will exist only if you choose to truly live. Live. Good night. Sleep well. And when you wake, remember, you have time, you have people, you have a fire to tend. Keep it alive. Pass it on. That's all that matters. That's all that's ever mattered. The fire continues through you, through me, through all of us, together as it always has, as it always will. If we choose well, choose life. The fire is waiting.